The Whiskey Rebellion. Basically what happens when you tax booze and forget that farmers have muskets and zero chills. So let's go back to 1791, a time when America was still in its awkward teenage years. The Revolutionary War had just ended. Everyone had PTSD. Teeth were made of God knows what. And George Washington was president, which means he was basically the dad of the country. And like any good dad, he had bills. They still had the British accent, still owed $1 bajillion to France, and everyone smelled like unwashed hemp and goats. The Revolutionary War had left them with victory, freedom, and the financial equivalent of a flaming dumpster. See, war isn't cheap. You gotta buy bullets, pay soldiers, and having French Foreign Minister Talleyrand breathing down your neck demanding bribes and a loan from the American diplomats before negotiations could even begin to stop seizing American ships. So this dude, Alexander Hamilton, Secretary of the Treasury, was like, "Hey Georgie, say, what if we tax the whiskey to pay off the debt?" Booze tax? Sounds responsible. Now here's the thing, backcountry farmers, especially in western Pennsylvania, weren't just drinking whiskey, they were using it as currency. Because who needs dollars when you can just trade Uncle Jed's homemade brain solvent? So the government was like, pay us money, and the farmers were like, how's about we set your tax collectors on fire instead? And they did, like multiple times. Fast forward to 1794, tensions are high, farmers were forming militias, burning stuff, tarring and feathering government agents, like it's frat hazing for sociopaths, which was actually a form of public torture. You were stripped naked, then they'd pour hot tar on you and roll you on a pile of feathers, thus tarring and feathering. This one guy, David Bradford, becomes the poster child of the rebellion. He's a lawyer turned mob leader because apparently every small town lawyer has a second job as a warlord. He helps lead attacks on tax collectors, federal officials, and anyone who looked vaguely like Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton, who at this point is vibrating with rage and wearing 14 layers of ruffles, goes to Washington and says, "George, buddy, you gotta crush these guys or they'll start taxing you next." And George doesn't just send an army, oh no, he leads the army. Personally, this is the only time a sitting US president has led troops into battle. Just imagine Joe Biden riding into Portland on horseback with 13,000 troops over a moonshine tax. That's the level of dad's had enough we're talking here. So Washington rides west with an army bigger than anything he used against the British, and the farmers were like, oh God, it's him, the George. Run! Spoiler, nobody actually fights. Most of the rebels dip out the back door. Washington arrests a few people, makes an example out of 2 guys, then pardons them anyway because he's trying to be that chill but firm dad who grounds you and then brings you McDonald's. So in short, Hamilton taxed whiskey. Farmers said, screw that. Washington then showed up with 13,000 dudes and a death stare. Everyone peed themselves and went home. And that, kids, is how the federal government proved it could enforce its own laws. So the next time someone says, you can't fight the feds, remember, you can try, but George Washington might show up and unalive your whole revolution with pure disappointment. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and pay your taxes before Alexander Hamilton's ghost gets ideas.